Coming up on today's edition of Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about, our guests are the founders of Changed. Do you say Changed or Change Ed?
You got it right the first time, Barb. Changed.
Got it. Okay, great. It's a brilliant technology that helps pay off student loans effortlessly.
We'll be talking with founders, brothers, and Shark Tank winners. Not winners.
Yeah, winners. Winners.
we won an investment, so yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, Sky, and Dan Stelmach.
Great. Well, student loans are a hot topic right now with the recent announcement from President Biden. So we'll touch a little bit on that here as well.
Yes, and let's be clear about student loan debt. 58% of all student loan debt belongs to women, and it takes longer for them to pay it off because women do not make dollar for dollar, and they often leave the workforce to take care of children or family, which hinders the ability to pay off debt.
Yeah, let's just jump right in here.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
So guys, we'd love for you to jump in now and just give some of your own little intro.
Yeah, happy to start here. My name is Nick Sky. I'm one of the co-founders of Change. And Maggie, just to reference your statistic about 58% of student debt being held by women, that's actually true, if not more so the demographics of our user base. Most of our users are women who went to school, graduated with degrees, and have proportionally more debt than men going to school just because, they had to borrow more. And like you mentioned, they're making less at work. So we understand that struggle, and we're trying to, be a platform that is available for everyone that needs to use it, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. And Dan?
Yeah, Dan Stelmach here, co-founder, Nick's brother. We always say we're great co-founders to one another, but we're okay brothers. So
Can't be good at everything.
Yeah. But I personally came to Nick with my own personal frustrations of debt and realizing that 99% of my friends that went to college had student loans, and we never had a conversation around it. And, it's a problem that everyone has but doesn't talk about. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are glad to grab you both and have this important discussion about student debt. It's near and dear to my heart, and what both of you guys have created to help the ease and the burden of these loans is really amazing. So I'm excited to share with our community all about it.
Yeah, so kick it off, guys. Tell us how so you gave us a little bit of a clue of how it got started, but how did you really get it rolling?
Yeah, I'd love just to share like the background story. So obviously Dan and I are brothers, and we were first generation Americans. We were raised by a single mom, and we had no other option than to borrow money to go to school. We were the first generation in our family to go to college and receive a college degree. And at the time, 2010 to 2015-ish, college wasn't cheap, right? So it's not like we had extra cash so we could pay for tuition. Both of us were working through college. Dan had a full-time job when he was in school. I had a full-time job when I was in school. And we still had to borrow money to make ends meet. And this wasn't like extravagant. I'm going to borrow $50,000 and use 10,000 of it for spring break or use it to party, right? This is like, all right, we need to borrow to pay tuition and books, and then we'll figure the rest out with our jobs. And as we were going through school, we borrowed every single year. So at the end of it, I think I graduated with around $60,000 in student loan debt, which is a little bit above the average, but not crazy amounts of money. There are doctors and dentists that go to school that have six-figure student loan debt that they have to pay off for the next 10 to 25 years. But we borrowed this money and we started paying it off, right? So I took my first entry-level job after graduating college and started making payments. And I had to take that job sooner than I wanted to because my student loan payment was coming up. So I needed to find some source of income. And then we kept paying it, and then Dan finally came to me with this frustration of like, hey man, I've been paying off my loans for like the last 4 or 5 years. It's not making a dent. I can't buy my first home. Like all of these things are held by the student debt that we carried. And I mean, Dan, you can share like that when you came to me with this little sticky note of ideas and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously I have similar stories as we're brothers, but I didn't really have the plans of going to college right away, but Nick, the person that, helped push me towards getting my education, saying every career path you're going to go down at that stage, like you need to build a network, you need to further your education, you need to make it to the next level. So I did go to college, but like one of my first jobs right out of high school is like I was in sales. I was actually selling cars for a living at the age of 18, and then went to school while I was working full time, 50 to 60 hours a week, trying to make a living, as well as go through school, help support stuff at our own household, help my mom with bills and whatnot. And then I graduated, and just like every other graduate, you have your goals and dreams of moving out of your parents' house as soon as you possibly can. So I did all the right adult moves to manage my $1,000 student loan bill, because I graduated about $70,000 in debt, and every other life expense. Saved up enough money for like a small down payment for my first place. Applied, and I actually got approved. But then I realized, if I take on this mortgage and every other expense that comes with a home, plus my $1,000 a month student loan bill that's with me for the next decade and a half, like I really have zero flexibility. There's just this big cloud of debt hanging over me. So I came to Nick with this idea. I had a lot of perspective of helping people make large financial decisions to buy a car. Most people finance cars these days. So it's people that were recent college graduates, good credit, bad credit, high incomes, low incomes. Like I just felt like no matter what position you were, like borrowing money is like a very disjointed, like negative experience. You wish you could pay cash for everything, but just everything's not as affordable as it used to be. And I came to Nick, was like, hey, we need to help people reframe the way they look at this debt, and then help, build progress today. And this is where I kind of came up with the idea of small incremental savings, applying it towards debt on a regular basis without having to think about it. And we're here today.
That's awesome. Awesome. What a great story. And like you said, you're not unlike millions of other college graduates. I mean, Maggie, do you want to tell your story?
I mean, yeah, I always thought I wanted to get an MBA. And so 2 years community college, and then I did a 5-year program. So really, only 5 years of school total to walk out with an MBA, still walk out with $70,000 worth of debt. People tell you to do community college and you go, yeah, sure. Did that. I had parent support as well. And it's just, yeah, I was working at the Starbucks, and there's only so many, you can make $15 an hour, and you can't pay. I remember a class was 3 hours every week, and friends would be like, come on, just go out. I was like, no, when I go, it's $800 an hour I'm paying. Yeah. I am going to show up. Yeah. And that was the thing sometimes where I'm like, I need to go on my Saturday morning from 9 to noon on St. Patrick's Day in Chicago. Yeah. And I knew it was $800, and I was like, I have to go.
Yeah, when you put the dollars and cents behind it, you know what the value is and what you're spending. But yeah, I remember telling Maggie, don't do it. But and I'm a doctor of adult education. So I believe in education, except for the cost, right? And the promised ROI that doesn't always happen. So I've heard a lot of really heartbreaking stories around people who have taken out this debt and they can't get off the mark. They can't buy a car. They can't buy a house. They can't start a family. And the worst case scenario are those people who don't finish their college education. So they still have the debt, but they don't have the degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many problems, like just with the higher education system and the cost of college, not to mention the fact that you're making these decisions to borrow tens of thousands of dollars when you're 18 years old.
Exactly.
And it's like a blank check. If you want to go to graduate, you could borrow up to $150,000 in government loans for a graduate program, but then no one tells you that you need to pay this off in the next 10 years. I mean, even then you're going to pay double what you borrowed, and that's not a good position to be in. And, segueing to kind of what President Biden recently announced, we're putting a Band-Aid, like we're all for student loan forgiveness, right? It's a huge relief to a lot of people. And I think it's something that absolutely needed to be done, but it doesn't fix the core of the problem with, higher education costs rising. The lack of financial education in grade school and high school, I think would be a huge benefit for a lot of people, just to understand what compounding interest is, just to understand what, a 10-year term of a loan is. And if you make, which is what we're doing with Change, is a very simple concept, is you make extra payments toward an interest-bearing loan, you're getting guaranteed return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
If your loan is 8%, you're making 8% on that additional payment, right? So like those types of pieces of education, which a lot of companies are now starting to focus on that younger demographic and like teaching people the basics of money, right? This, I feel like, should be a national requirement across the board for all educators to teach a class on that.
Well, you're preaching our key messages there, because so many people don't understand how money works. And I think they wave the success stories of getting your undergraduate degree, getting your college degree, getting your PhD, and all that you're going to be able to do with it. But the reality is not always that. So you really have to understand what you're getting yourself into. And I did say, gosh, my daughter was able to get all this money for student loans, and I couldn't get anything to start a business. So it's just crazy. So, and she didn't have any money, and I had plenty, and they still wouldn't give me any money. So it's very disjointed. And we're going to talk more about that. But will you share a little bit about your experience on Shark Tank?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, if you want to share that story, it was quite an interesting one.
Yeah, of course. So we launched in like early 2017 with a beta that we're just testing with really anyone we can kind of scrounge up to use our platform just to test it out. And then, we had a lot of we struck a chord in terms of the market. So we tested our application in the App Store. Apple featured us as one of the apps we love without even having a clue that that was a thing. Next thing you know, it was Nick's birthday, and we're out having a beer for his birthday, and we both get a notification saying, "Hey, I'm a producer from Shark Tank. I love what you guys are doing. We should have a conversation." And we both look at each other because the notification came on our phone at the exact same
we need a phone call like that.
Yeah, we were at the bar. We've had a couple of beers. I'm like, I'm going to email him right now. It's like 10:30 at night. We're like, let's just wait till the morning and
wait till you're sober.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But it also didn't come from an email that's like at sharktank.com. So we were like, this might be someone just scamming or spamming us. But we did some Googling the next day, and it did turn out as a producer, and we scheduled a call, and we asked him why that email wasn't that, and he explained it. But they also mentioned like there's no guarantees. Like I can't guarantee you anything. You still have to apply. You still have to do this. You still have to. It's going to be a black hole until you get on stage, until you air. Like you're not going to know anything. So at that stage, we were 3 months into our idea, building an MVP. Really just kind of starting to launch. So that was definitely a risk, we were both willing to take, and our team was willing to take. And, we went on stage and first we had actually a practice pitch in front of like 50 people that were producers, lawyers, part of ABC and all that stuff, just to kind of like get a feel for what we're going to say. Then we got on the stage and had the opportunity to pitch, which they do cut it down to like a 7-8 minute segment. Yeah, but that conversation was about an hour and a half for us before.
Wow. That's exhausting.
The adrenaline through your body is pumping, so it felt like 15 minutes, but it was about an hour and a half conversation. But they do ask a lot of detailed questions that are off camera for most businesses, right? But it was a great opportunity. We had a great conversation. Although the majority said no. One gave us a crazy offer, and then Mark Cuban kind of came in with a realistic offer.
And we went into the tank knowing that we wanted to work with Mark because just his stance on student debt and him being a proponent for like more education for financial literacy. And just his technical background was a super benefit in the beginning as we were building our company. And we were fortunate enough, and we had our ceiling as far as like valuation. And in the episode, you'll see we ask if there's any room to negotiate as a quick note, but there was some talk in between there. So they really cut it down to make a good TV. And I think it was a pretty good episode, and we're happy with it. And just being on the set, and we had our own trailers, and we went into hair and makeup, and like they did Dan's makeup and his hair. They did my makeup, and they said, "You're good on hair." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
That's great. Well, congratulations. That's such an awesome story, and so wonderful to hear, from entrepreneur to entrepreneur that actually you get the call. So that's really cool. But tell us where you are today, and tell us all about how this works.
Yeah. So we originally launched as a platform to help people pay down student debt because it was a problem that was really near and dear to our heart. It was holding us back. and a lot of our friends back, right? And as we started to, launch and build our user base, we understood that student loans were just one part of someone's full financial life, right? So today we sent over $25 million in additional payments towards student loans. And we started to expand into other product offerings, including what we call Stash My Cash, which is an automated savings account that allows you to save for a rainy day fund, down payment for a house. It's just something that, automates that. Yeah, you can do it. You can transfer this into your account. But if we can automate that for you and you can save 50, $60 a month without having to think about it with spare change roundups and things like that, then you're going to be better at the end of the year when you have that extra cash for a rainy day. And then we've also looked and analyzed what our member base is paying off and what their goals are, and understood that, a lot of people have a goal of buying a house. So like, how do we help you save for a down payment? And then how do we help you pay that mortgage off more effectively? So you're out of that debt sooner. So automating the repayment process for mortgage, automating the repayment process for auto loans and personal loans is all part of the grand vision of what we're trying to do, is to help people do debt differently, because it's something that there are a lot of startups working on helping solve the problem, but the system itself is so antiquated. Like logging into your loan servicer portal, I don't know if you log into Nelnet or Great Lakes, but it's just so old school and
I haven't even gotten there because they changed it all from Great Lakes to something else, and so now I'm lost and have to figure it out before the new year.
Yeah. And that's something we try to help manage with we have a course in our app called Know Your Loan, which helps people understand what happens when my loan servicers switch, what happens if I consolidate my debt, what is, compounding interest, all these things that are part of debt repayment, which you don't necessarily want to think about, but it actually, is a benefit once you know it.
When I originally came to Nick with the idea that literally a sticky note full of just features and tools of what I thought this product may be one day, I had debts written on there, and we're like, we can solve all these problems.
Yeah, we can solve the world's issues.
And Nick was, getting involved in the tech space and knew a lot more about technology than I did at the time. And he's like, let's build an MVP, which is a minimal viable product. He's like, let's focus on one debt, let's focus on one feature, and then let's go from there. And that kind of really helped us build a more, I would say, just more engaging product, because we figured out the psychological component of why debt repayment sucks.
Yeah.
And how we can make you feel better today, because it's all about feeling better today. That helps you feel better about tomorrow and the next day, the next day, instead of making a $1,000 payment towards your student loan, seeing the balance drop minimally and knowing that you have another 10 years of doing this is just a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
But to kind of dive in and simply explain how the Change platform works is you log in, you make a profile. We set up an FDIC insured account in your name. So we use a banking partner to do that. We allow you to connect all of your external accounts. So your checking accounts and your bank accounts via Plaid, which allows us to securely do that. And you can connect your student loans. We analyze all of that data, your spending habits, your debt loads. We can help you pay down or help you select which debt to pay down most effectively. And we automate that process. So we have savings features such as rounding up your spare change. You can schedule boosts. You can set one-time boosts to set small micro savings that really you don't feel on a daily basis, but that add up quickly. It's kind of thinking of when you're budgeting and you buy a Starbucks coffee every day and you're like, oh, it's only $5 today. But then you realize after a year of doing it, you spent $3,000 in coffee.
Right.
Well, that's the plan with paying down this debt, or with Change to pay down your debt. And those savings get stored into your FDIC insured account. And once you reach at least $50 worth of savings, we automate the payment to your servicer. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to really do anything. You just see the progress within the application. We show you real estimated savings based off of your loan terms, your interest rates, all of that stuff, to the penny. So you rounded up 60 cents today. Well, that 60 cents is actually worth 75 cents. It's going to help you shave 4 hours off of your debt, just to bring it into perspective today compared to what it's going to help you do in 10 years from now.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. And I love even, before you even explained it, how you brought in that it's the emotion. And that's such a big thing, is it's not, we can all read the numbers. We all understand what they mean, but the emotion at the end of the day is such the key component And to bring that and kind of integrate that into your system as well is, I love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and Maggie, like we've tried to like gamify it in a way that makes it a positive experience. Because right now, debt repayment is a negative, disjointed experience. If we make it a positive and engaging one, and like manufacture instant gratification, I think that's what really helps people reframe how they look at debt and the progress they can make on a daily basis versus trying to think 10 years ahead today, right?
Love it.
And you don't always want to, like, I don't always want to look back and just regret that decision every time I pay my debt. But, I did it. That was hard work. I still earned it, and I knew I wanted to do it at the time. So going in with, much better mindset to me just really changes it than just paying $1,000, like you said. And every time you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you make money? How does it work?
So we thought of this like so many times when we first started Change, but we wanted to keep it simple. We charge $3 a month for our platform. And that really kind of helps us obviously grow as a company,
Sure.
cover the costs of moving money, sending payments, having an FDIC insured account for your funds, not selling any of your debt because that's so important to us too.
Yes.
And really keeping the platform secure, safe, and efficient for your debt repayment.
Wow, that's nothing to, that $3 a month to relieve all that concern and worry and just know kind of you're on an automated roll and these things are going to get paid down. But I know there's a way that other people can help chime in and help make little mini deposits as well, right? Can you talk a little bit about that part?
Yeah, so we do have a family, loved ones, friends, if you can talk them into paying off your debt. So essentially your parents, your rich uncle or rich aunt can sign up to the platform and become contributors to apply it towards your debt. They would open up their own account, but essentially they can help you pretty much maximize those additional payments going in a way that doesn't affect their budget. We have, hundreds of people that send hundreds of dollars because they do it. Their mom does it. Their dad does it. Their aunt and uncle do it. And really anyone you can talk into helping you pay off your debt. It's a very budget friendly way to kind of eliminate that.
Hey, what a great Christmas gift, right? To someone. What a great birthday gift. What a great graduation gift.
Exactly, Barb. That's what we were
someone-
thinking.
Yeah.
For a graduation gift, instead of getting, a gift card to whatever, you can sign up for a year or whatever to help pay down their debt.
Yeah, well, we cannot wait to promote the heck out of this because at Purse Strings next month, we're really focusing on debt. We know student loan debt is really a heavy load. We know that a lot of people are in so much debt they don't even want to open their envelopes anymore. But we know that women carry a lot of debt, and our whole goal is to help women be financially fearless. This is one way that we can really help them. You guys have created this genius app. Maggie, I think you should download it ASAP. Or do you already have it?
I have it, but we can also hook up your card as well and make sure that's activated.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you have a big family, so maybe everyone can contribute. But what else would you like to share, like people to know about Changed and how they can best help themselves with this app?
One of the things that we really try to focus on the most is helping people just understand the debt that they're in, because there's this problem with people that have a lot of debt is like there's like an ostrich effect where you bury your head into the sand and you just let things go by, and then all of a sudden 10 years later you don't have a home, you have a ton of debt, you're in a really bad situation, you're delaying starting a family, all of these things that you go to college to accelerate, you end up delaying because of this debt. So one of the things I always tell anyone anytime I'm talking with anyone is like, figure out where you're at right now. Like, just don't ignore it. Log into your student loan portals, see your debt loads. See, like I just logged in today, right? And I borrowed for one loan $31,000, and right now, after making years of payments, I owe $37,000. Right? So it's
Wait,
like
say
this.
that again?
I borrowed $31,000. I've made years of payments, and I now owe $37,000.
How does that work?
It's student loans. It's the
high interest rates.
It's the forbearance. It's when we were building our company, I had to go on an income-based repayment plan, and the interest just kept accumulating. And we hear stories of people that borrow $125,000. They now have $300,000 in debt, and like there's no way of getting out of that. Like you can't get out of that unless you hit the lottery. In which case, please give me a call, or like you start earning a lot more money.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing I kind of wanted to add is that there's so many solutions out there that either tell you what issues you have. Like there's a lot of softwares out there that'll aggregate all of your information, tell you the debts, and then give you recommendations. And 99.9% of those recommendations are based off of credit score, income, refinance.
Yeah.
Like those are all great options if you're in the perfect financial position. But like what we wanted to build here at Change, you don't need even a credit score. Obviously, if you have some type of debt, you have some type of credit,
Yeah.
but you don't need a specific income. You don't need anything. You just need an account you can link to pay off and a debt to pay off through our platform. And Change can be that helpful tool to get you in a better financial position sooner. And one thing I thought we'd never say is like we get people excited about making debt payments through our platform because we get messages like at least a few times a week saying, hey, tagging us on Instagram or commenting or leaving a review. Like I've sent another payment this week, which is awesome to see.
Set it and forget it, right? That's what people want to do. Now, here's a question. Can you have organizations, like can your employer help you pay towards them?
We have some relationships with institutions that provide the tool for members for free.
Yeah.
We aren't playing in the employer space in regards to employers helping pay down debt. But, at the end of the day, it's in the control of the borrower themselves. We want to make sure that they have that independence as opposed to relying on, if your employer offers a benefit, take advantage of that.
Sure.
Right? But at the end of the day, their signature is not on that promissory note, right? So
True.
They're responsible for it.
Good point.
Yeah, I think this has been wonderful today. I appreciate you both coming on and sharing your story of how you got started and how you can help and, these stories of how you've really impacted lives, because these student loans do impact your life, but I know these small changes can really pay them off and make your life a lot better.
Yeah. So we're going to grab your link. We're going to promote it out. I want everyone to know about Change and set it and forget it. Go on with your life. Know your payments are being made. Have some great, gifts of Change applications for families and friends to help you out, which I think was fabulous, and alleviate that, debt load or whatever. So, great idea. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you.
Maggie, thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.